At the end of episode 1, Gardaí arrived at the home of Sayeed and Halawa just as the family were having their evening meal, and Halawa was caring for their new 7-week-old daughter.
My brother-in-law was there, and I had my little girl and my husband and me, and we were eating.
It was 6 days since they'd brought their older daughter, Aisha, to Crumlin Hospital in Dublin with an injury.
I remember one woman and maybe 5 men, and they came in. I was sitting in the room.
Sayeed had earlier left Aisha with relatives in the hospital and came home to wash and change.
They came with detectives, many cars, for only 2 people.
His wife Halawa is caught completely by surprise when Gardaí walk into her home.
They came in and they said, "Who is Halawa?" I said, "Me." And they said, "Who is Sayeed?" I said, "Him."
Gardaí suspect Sayeed and Halawa injured their daughter by being involved in an act of female genital mutilation on her.
They came into the sitting room. They were talking about the law, the FGM something. I don't know what they said. One Garda woman came to me and said, "Can you tell me anything you're hiding?" I said, "I'm not hiding anything." I was breastfeeding my youngest girl. The guard was standing there, and she said, "Tell me if you're hiding anything. Tell the truth." I said, "I'm not hiding anything." And she said, "Come with me. Take the baby. Come to the Garda station."
As Halawa is being spoken to, Gardaí take a different approach with her husband, Sayeed.
They warned me that whatever you say will be used against you. You are arrested under the Act.
Subsequent Garda statements will outline these moments, including a statement from Garda A.
At 8:16 p.m, I arrested for the offence of female genital mutilation, contrary to Section 2 of the Criminal Law, Female Genital Mutilation Act 2012. I cautioned him that he was not obliged
From
to
RTE
say
Investigates and RTE Documentary on One, I'm Ruth Naga, and this is First Conviction. Episode 2, Waiting and Hoping.
Before we begin this episode, if you do have any knowledge or information on this story, please contact us immediately and in confidence.
You can reach us by email, documentaries@rte.ie or investigations@rte.ie.
It's just after 8 p.m. on Thursday, September 22nd, 2016, when Gardaí enters Sayeed and Halawa's home. What happens next is outlined in Garda statements.
A cursory search of the flat was carried out. Pointed out to me the child's toy that was allegedly involved in the incident. I immediately placed this in an evidence bag and labelled it Exhibit 5. A number of other items were taken and placed in evidence bags and labelled.
Minutes later, Sayeed is arrested, and by 8:25 p.m, his family home is declared a crime scene by Gardaí and sealed off. All the while, their daughter Aisha remains in hospital.
My sister was looking after my daughter Aisha in the hospital. My daughter, she didn't know anything. She was just dancing.
After his arrest, Sayeed is brought from his home to the nearby Sun Drive Garda station for formal questioning.
We go there, and they try to record the interview in a room they have, but the recorder doesn't work. So they bring me to another police station.
You'll remember Pam and Tim from episode 1. They're part of the investigative team working on this series.
Sayeed is eventually brought from Sun Drive Garda station to the nearby Crumlin Garda station, where the recording machine does actually work.
They offered me a legal representative. I got a French translator, and I got a lawyer to be present.
French is the language Sayeed grew up with. He does speak broken English, but he needs help understanding exactly what Gardaí are saying to him.
Sayeed's first interview with Gardaí begins sometime after 11 p.m. and ends sometime after midnight. So we're now into the early hours of Friday morning.
As this story develops, translations are going to play a major part. Something the RTE Investigates TV doc that follows this series will also delve into.
So I'm Mary Phelan and I work in Dublin City University, and I'm also the chairperson of the Association of Translators and Interpreters Ireland.
Dr. Mary Phelan is one of the preeminent experts in Ireland in translation. particularly in legal settings such as courtrooms or Garda stations.
There's a lot of legal language involved in any Garda station interview.
Mary would later give key expert testimony in this case.
So there are certain things, kind of procedural things that have to be done at the start of a Garda station interview with a suspect, particularly in serious cases.
Mary points to language interpretation issues from the very first interview Sayeed gave to Gardaí in Crumlin Garda Station.
The first interpreter, there are a lot of problems with his French. So he has difficulty interpreting the caution. He has difficulty interpreting the reason why the person is being interviewed. He doesn't know how to translate FGM. It's clear from the video that he has no pen and paper. He's totally reliant on his memory and he frequently omits details. So to me, his French is a real problem.
A few hours earlier, when Sayeed had been brought in for questioning, his wife Halawa is also asked by Gardaí to come to the station with them, as outlined by the officer who dealt with her.
Halawa was invited to Sundrive Garda Station to make a voluntary caution statement. Miss spoke good English and stated that she understood. On arrival, Miss requested to speak to a solicitor. Then Miss had a private consultation with the solicitor when he arrived.
Shortly after, Halawa, her solicitor, and Gardaí go into an interview room and Halawa begins to give her voluntary cautioned statement, responding to questions from Gardaí.
Did you see what happened? I said, no, I don't know what happened. I only tell you what I saw. I only saw my husband holding her and then I took her. They say, we have to find out what happened. Is there any scissors? Is there any knife? Did you cut anything? Do you have a needle? Did you cut with the scissors?
Halawa tells Gardaí she believes her daughter fell on a toy and hurt herself, that it was an accidental injury. But Gardaí continue to ask questions.
Did you call someone who came to your house? Do you know anybody who has had FGM in Ireland? They were asking me about the whole community. They were writing it all down.
At the conclusion of the voluntary caution statement, the statement was read back over to Miss and she stated it was a true and accurate account. The statement was then signed by Miss and witnessed by Garda and I.
It's just after midnight when Sayeed's first interview ends. And we know what Sayeed was actually saying from the various Garda statements recorded at this time. This one tells us what the senior officer on duty was being told by Garda A, the detective leading the case.
He informed me that the prisoner had to be moved to Crumlin Garda Station and how he was interviewed with the aid of an interpreter and in the presence of a solicitor and was sticking to his story that the child fell on a toy.
A conversation between both officers then takes place, where Garda A outlines how Gardaí are awaiting exhibits seized from Sayeed's home and on forensic results, and that
further questioning of the suspect was required to elicit the truth from the suspect and his replies noted.
Looking through Garda's statements, they detail that just after midnight, Garda A went to search another address, the second home with Garda C. It was actually a flat where Halawa had previously lived and where another person was now living.
At 12:35 a.m, Garda and I called to road. Nothing of evidential value was seized.
Back in Crumlin Garda Station, it's coming up to 2 a.m. when Sayeed's detention is extended by another 6 hours. He tries to get some sleep in his cell. The following morning, his detention is extended by another 12 hours.
I was not released immediately. They brought me back in again in the morning.
It's now Friday morning, exactly a week after the couple brought their daughter to Crumlin Hospital. At about 9:30 a.m, Sayeed is brought into the doctor's room by Garda D.
I informed that I was going to take from him a photograph, samples of fingerprints and palm prints and DNA.
Just before 10 a.m, Sayeed's solicitor arrives to Crumlin Garda Station.
The solicitor they offered me was still there. At least I have company. I'm not on my own in front of all those officers.
A new French language interpreter also arrives.
And she's there for the whole day, basically from 10:15 in the morning until 8:20 in the evening. So that's quite a long day.
Translation expert Mary Phelan again.
However, there are issues with her interpreting as well.
Today, Sayeed will be interviewed on 4 separate occasions, and having already been interviewed the night before, these interviews are numbered 2 to 5.
With interview 2, for example, the interpreter does a good job of interpreting the caution, but then she experiences difficulties interpreting a lot of the legal stuff and she doesn't know how to translate FGM. For example, if she doesn't understand something, she comes back to the interviewee for clarification when she should just translate what he's just said.
That second Garda interview lasts about 2 hours. A third one takes place after lunchtime, and it's coming up to 5 p.m. when interview 4 begins, and further language interpretation issues arise.
But we've got to remember too that the questions Gardaí are asking of Sayeed, well, they're all based around the information and medical notes they've been given by hospital staff in Crumlin.
Then interview 4, later that afternoon, this interview focuses on the exhibits. And here it's interesting because the interpreter kind of steps out of her role and she asks her own questions. So in some cases, it's almost like she's the Garda, and interpreters are not supposed to do that.
While all of this is going on, back at Sayeed and Halawa's home, which is still a crime scene, Gardaí are forensically examining everything, looking for any potential evidence.
So we've seen some of the Garda statements, and they tell us that Gardaí took away a number of items, including knives, scissors, and the children's toy which Sayeed and Halawa believed caused Aisha's injury.
They even took up the section of carpet that Sayeed and Halawa pointed to, where Aisha had fallen and began bleeding. Gardaí photographed and mapped out various locations in the family home.
Throughout that Friday, Sayeed's daughter Aisha remains in hospital. Her mother Halawa is being helped out by relatives.
I was sleeping at my sister's house, and in the morning early, I went back to the hospital. My sister was there with my daughter.
A blood sample is taken from Aisha that day. 4 vials of blood, in fact, which will later be forensically linked to blood found on the carpet in her home. Social workers from Tuzla talked to Halawa again.
And they asked me, "Where's your husband?" I said my husband was taken in, and they said they would wait for him until he gets released or charged. Yeah, released or charged.
Tuzla's social workers gave Halawa a sense of what might happen next.
They said when they get the decision of the Gardaí, they're going to take the next step, to take the children or whatever they think. And I was saying, I don't have a solicitor. And they say, we'll give you time if you want, but you cannot take your little girl from the hospital. And you have to stay within the hospital. And I was saying, why? They said, your child had FGM and she has to stay safe in here and you cannot take her.
Earlier that day, it's still Friday, remember, Gardaí went to court to seek another warrant.
The detective in charge secured a 3rd search warrant, this time for an apartment in a different part of Dublin, where a member of Halawa's family lived.
It's not fully clear why Gardaí went there, or what they were searching for, or whether anyone else was under suspicion. But what is clear is that this Garda operation was getting bigger.
During that Friday, Sayeed is interviewed on 4 separate occasions. His final interview starts just after 7 p.m. and ends about 40 minutes later. Translation expert Mary Phelan again.
This interview focuses on possible suspects. So at this stage, the interviewee is using more English than before, but he doesn't have enough English to express himself successfully and regularly reverts to French. I was interested to note as well that at the end of each interview, the Garda read back his notes in English only, without any interpretation being provided. Now, the interviewee did agree to this, but it's not good practice for this to happen.
A key principle of justice in Ireland is that if you're being interviewed in a police station or standing trial before a judge, no matter what language you speak, as the person being accused of a crime, you must clearly understand everything that is being said to you in every part of the process. It's your constitutional right, in fact.
During all of his interviews, Sayeed maintains his innocence, vehemently denying he ever injured his daughter. Garda B was kept informed throughout that day.
I continued to monitor this investigation and was made aware later in the day that the prisoner was released without charge, pending a full file to the DPP.
It's coming up to 8 p.m. when Sayeed walks out of Crumlin Garda station.
Then they released me. The Gardaí said, "You can go right now, but don't think you are free."
Within a few hours, news of Sayeed's arrest and alleged involvement in an act of FGM is leaked to the press, and a story first appears online.
This morning, specialist Garda teams combed the first-floor apartment. Detectives from Sundrive Road Garda Station are quizzing the man on suspicion of carrying out the barbaric butchery.
The next day, more newspaper coverage.
Gardaí arrested an African man in Dublin earlier this week following reports of a 2-year-old girl having her genitalia mutilated. It is believed the mutilation was performed as a ritual act.
Over the next few days, newspaper reports continue to emerge, some of them giving specific identifying details.
Members of the National Steering Committee on FGM have called on the government to take a tougher stance on the evil butchers.
An Irish group campaigning against female genital mutilation has condemned the dreadful attack on a 21-month-old baby girl.
Gardaí are hunting a woman who they believe to be a witch doctor over the cruel act.
By now, the Child and Family Agency Tuzla are firmly part of this family's life.
So little Aisha continues to remain in hospital and under observation. 10 days after first being admitted, she's physically examined again. It's now September 26th, and contact is made by a doctor in the hospital with an FGM expert in the UK.
We understand this expert came back almost immediately, wondering if this was the same case being mentioned in the Irish media at the time.
And 2 days later, on September 28th, a letter of referral is emailed from staff in Crumlin Children's Hospital to that FGM expert in the UK.
She agrees to become involved to help out hospital authorities and later Gardaí.
Because Ireland doesn't actually have, or at least back then, didn't have an FGM medical expert for children.
During the rest of Aisha's time in hospital, according to her parents, she didn't need any treatment. Her wound was healing well. Because both parents were suspects of a crime against their daughter, child protection expert Shane Dunphy says Tuzla officers would have to carefully investigate the case.
They will speak to hospital staff, they'll look at medical notes, they will have conversations with the parents or the carers if they're present. They'll also look at existing TUSLA records. TUSLA will then apply a harm and risk analysis. They'll look at a pattern of injuries if there's been more than one single incident, if there's been repeated harm.
Sayeed and Halawa brought their daughter to hospital once before. She'd been vomiting badly at home with some kind of stomach bug. After being examined by hospital staff, she was cleared to leave and recover at home. This time, things were very different. Tuzla were involved.
The capacity of the caregiver will also be considered. So, for example, are they able and willing to engage with the discussion? What kind of a support network is there around the family? And then, of course, you're going to look at how the child themselves are presenting. What does their relationship appear to be like with the parents? Do they seem to feel safe around the mum and dad?
Tuzla are now deciding on what they feel is in the best interests of 21-month-old Aisha and her infant sister, because of the suspicion of FGM hanging over their parents.
Tuzla mentioned that they are taking an order against us. They gave it to Halawa when I was in the Garda station, the paper for the supervision order. It says they are not safe in our hands. They have to take away the 2 children.
Sayeed and Halawa start looking for help within the Islamic community in Dublin, and they're put in touch with a solicitor.
As you can imagine, we've approached all the authorities involved in this story. When we asked questions of Tuzla, here's some of what they had to say.
If a child is deemed to be at immediate risk, they receive an immediate protective response.
And then they go on to say that
The welfare and safety of the child is always the first and paramount concern. Where a crime is suspected, TUSLA will report it and engage with An Garda Síochána under the joint protocol.
And finally, they finish by telling us
TUSLA works with families to support them to ensure that children can remain at home where it is in the best interest of the child. However, where this is not possible, children may come into care for a period to ensure their safety and well-being.
17 days after they first brought Aisha to hospital, and where she is still a patient, her parents appear before a Dublin family court, where a decision will be made relating to the care of their children.
Only TUSLA can apply for a care order of any kind. It must go through them. And usually TUSLA will go through the district court. You're going to be presenting your evidence to a judge, and the judge will then decide whether or not it gets granted or not. So the access point is usually through the district court.
Halawa could not believe what was happening. How could an act of caring for her daughter, simply bringing her to hospital, wanting to ensure she was okay, now potentially result in her children being taken from her?
You cannot imagine how you feel when your solicitor tells you they're going to take your children. I don't know how we're going to fight this. And it's not just one child, it's 2 children.
As a father, Sayeed was feeling totally helpless. He felt the entire system was turning against his family.
We cannot stop them. They are state agencies. There are many things involved, many doctors in the hospital. The Gardaí, TUSLA, all those institutions are saying one thing.
And that one thing is that an act of FGM had been carried out on their daughter.
I was crying in the court. I don't know what they were saying. I was crying like somehow I was thinking about, I want to die now before they take my children. I don't want to live. I want to die.
But the hearing doesn't go as badly as Halawa thought it might.
The court gave us a care and supervision order. The state will supervise. TUSLA will be involved. They will monitor us. But there's no taking our children away.
On the same day as that court hearing, October 3rd, investigating Gardaí arrived to University College London Hospital to meet with UK FGM experts. After examining the evidence Gardaí had brought with them, the expert says her findings are consistent with type 1 FGM, with a full report to follow. Back to Crumlin Hospital in Dublin. With a care order now in place, this also means the family can be fully reunited. 18 days after Aisha had been admitted to hospital.
Yeah, 4th of October, we took her from the hospital.
The family are now under the supervision of TUSLA, as child protection expert Shane Dunphy explains.
A supervision order allows TUSLA to monitor a child's welfare while they remain at home, while, TUSLA and the Gardaí are kind of looking at the situation, investigating exactly what happened. A supervision order can last up to about 12 months.
Meanwhile, the story now becomes a political one.
We were all very concerned to hear in September of this awful case that was reported in the media involving apparently a baby girl of only 21 months on whom FGM had been carried out in Dublin.
That's then Senator Ivana Bacik, now TD and leader of the Labour Party, speaking in the Seanad in mid-October 2016.
But it's clearly awful and very distressing to learn that this practice has been carried out in 2016 on girls living here in Ireland. It's appalling. On babies, and as a mother, just as anyone else.
As the winter of 2016 comes around, Sayeed, Halawa and their children settle into a new routine, under the watchful eye of TUSLA social workers who regularly call to their home. Sayeed and Halawa were told it was best to agree with everything social workers asked them to do.
And we said yes to everything. Whatever they say yes. If TUSLA come to you, will you allow them in your house? Yes, welcome. They used to come every 3 days at first. I think for the first 2 months. Every 3 days, they have to come to the house. We give them tea. Come in, Sit here, no problem. We did the tea. They are really good agents in Tuzla. They are human. They drink the tea, eat the biscuits. They reported everything. We welcomed them. Our house was warm. Whatever time they wanted to come, they were more than welcome.
The family didn't know it then, but they are going to have to wait years before things become clearer. And being constantly monitored brings its own pressures.
And all the time I remember, I have a small baby. I'm tired. We have to clean the house, like everything extra. Clean the house, check the house, put the nice thingies out, but we're getting crazy as well. Thinking about, they're going to take the children away.
Child and Family Agency, Dublin. Dear Miss and Ms. I'm writing to you with the below dates during which I will visit you and your family at home. Please note these dates may change and do not include appointments of meetings should further issues arise. Kind regards, Social Worker.
The Garda investigation continues and the family waits. All the while their children continue to thrive. Aisha is now approaching her 2nd birthday, and her younger sister is moving towards the toddler stage.
In late 2016, Aisha is examined again by doctors in Dublin, who, along with the UK FGM experts, all suspect an act of FGM has been carried out on her. And then shortly before Christmas, there's another development.
Aisha's mum Halawa is asked by Gardaí to attend Sundrive Garda station.
And I went there. When I went in front of the Gardaí, they said, "You are arrested." And I was shocked.
I arrested at 10:06 a.m. on the 13th of the 12th, 2016 at Sundrive Road Station on suspicion of the female genital mutilation of her daughter, contrary to Section 1.
It would be another 3 years before this story will blow up again in the headlines, with devastating consequences for this family.
Well, the court heard, Mary, that the girl was 21 months old when she was taken to hospital by
And
her
that's where we're
parents
going in our next episode, that sees this couple put on trial for something they say never happened.
A paediatric surgeon has told the trial that the injury he saw did not match the father's explanation of how the injury occurred.
First Conviction is narrated by me, Ruth Nega.
The series is written and produced by me, Tim Desmond.
And me, Liam O'Brien, working together with the RTE Investigates team.
Including me, reporter Pam Frere.
And me, producer-director Philip Gallagher.
The music is composed by me, Mel Mercier, and performed with Carl Nesbitt, Paul O'Donnell, Newell Tumbu, Clara Stanabras and the RTE Concert Orchestra, conducted by Gavin Maloney.
Sayeed's words are voiced by Steve Hartland.
And Halawa's words are voiced by Isosa Ighodaro.
Legal advice is from Deirdre Ann Kelly and Eleanor Blaheen.
And sound design is by me, Kieran Cullen.
If you've been affected by any issues raised in this episode, please visit rte.ie/helplines. Until next time, thanks for listening.